Hi everyone, I'm Catherine, the artist behind Bigelow Fine Arts. How is your coloring going? Are you following along? Please let me know below. I'd really love to know. I'm really close to the end now, just a few more things left, so stay tuned for the big reveal at the end of the week on Thursday. I'll also be finishing up the candles this week, so 2 big reveals. My pencils are sharp and ready to go. Come along and join me, and let's color this in together. Today I wanted to focus on Earth and getting it colored in. Even though I kind of know what it looks like, I wanted to pull up a few pictures to make sure I had the colors in the right places, especially since I am not as familiar with this part of Europe and North Africa. Plus, after looking at a few pictures, I didn't realize that oceans could show such drastic color changes, even though it totally makes sense. I decided to begin with the ocean and clouds. I'm using a cold gray 2 on the clouds to block them in. This actually helps a little bit if I hit the clouds with any blue. The gray tends to act as a little bit of a resist against the blue. I began the ocean right off Spain and immediately made a mistake. Don't start right off the coast. Leave a little buffer, as the water against the coast is not a deep blue. When I realized my mistake, I erased it as best I could and added in the cobalt green to block off the coastal waters. I lightly block in the rest of the dark water with the blue-greenish. And to avoid more coastal water mistakes, I am going to come back in with the cobalt green and block in the coastal waters along the African coast, and then around the British Isles and out. East of the British Isles, there is more light water, but with the angle in clouds, it is hard to tell what is land and what might be a cloud. So I apologize if I add a cloud in the wrong spot. Back to the ocean, I'm blocking out more of the light ocean water off the British Isles. I want a rough idea of where all the colors are going to be before I come in with more layers. For me, the cobalt green isn't green enough, but it is a good starting point. I'm going to layer on some leaf green to make the water a bit more green, but without making it overwhelmingly green. I want ocean green, not algal bloom green. I add another layer of cobalt green on top, and I now have most of the coastal and light ocean water blocked in. I'm going to come in with the blue-greenish to block in the rest of the deep ocean waters. Some of this is going to be visible through the clouds. The Mediterranean Sea and the Suez Canal will also get the blue-greenish on them. The picture I found had the western part of the Earth in light, but the eastern part in darkness. So some of the things I am coloring will be covered in darkness and will not show up. So to darken up the water even more, I am going over it again with the dark indigo. For the most part, I am keeping the dark indigo to the eastern half of the Mediterranean and any other bodies of water east of that. The deep ocean also gets a layer of dark indigo, but not too much. I think I have most of my ocean colors in place, and I am now going to go through and add more layers to each area to darken up the pigments and blend the different areas of color together. I will continue to darken up the eastern bodies of water even more as they will be heading in toward night. At the top of the globe here, I am coming in with light phthalo blue to add in a bright blue area where light will be coming through the atmosphere. I want this to be a heavy layer as it is the only color visible in this thin crescent. With that in place, I decided to also fill in more of the ocean water between the clouds with the blue-greenish. I bring in more dark indigo on the far north ocean that will also be shrouded in night. back to the clouds. I'm coming in with cold gray 3 and adding in some shadows to some of the clouds to give them a bit of shape and also to darken up some of the clouds that are heading into the section covered by night. I feel like I have most of the water blocked in, so now I want to begin blocking in the land masses. I'm going to begin with the British Isles because for the most part, according to my reference, they are mostly just green. I put in a layer of the pine green over the islands. I then come in with a light layer of the chrome oxide. Both these greens are quite dark, and so to lighten them up, I add in some of the leaf green. I'm going to move on to Europe, beginning with the same pine green. According to the reference, there is a green band along the shore, so I am following the shore line down and around. I went a little bit too far and had to erase it back a bit. I'm coming in with cobalt green. I noticed there wasn't an English channel, so I put one in. I was torn on this, as maybe this is a prehistoric version of Earth, or something. I put it in anyways. And I touched up some of the water around the islands as well. I fixed the Straits of Gibraltar as it was closed up as well. I will have to come back in later and tone down the blue as it is showing up really bright. With those fixed, I'm coming back in with the pine green and continuing to block in the green areas on the continents. I am also putting in a light layer over the steps just to give them something. I now need to brighten up the green, and I'm using the leaf green for that. I'm just going to go over the pine green I just put down and nothing more. Before I get too far ahead of myself, I want to block in the night side as very little color will show through. I am starting the night with the dark sepia and blocking in everything east of Italy. I want to begin to tackle the desert areas. Starting in North Africa, I come in with the light flush. I block in all the sandy parts, including some of the steppe lands and some of the parts in the night section. I want to begin to block in shadows and darker areas, and for that I'm going to use the cinnamon. I'm not actually sure I have ever used this color before. I had to sharpen it for the first time. To darken the shadows and help them stand out more, I'll get in with the sanguine and brown ochre. I missed a section of the mountains, so I'm hitting them up with the chrome oxide, and we'll add in a layer of the leaf green on top to brighten it up. I used the sepia to add in some shadows around the mountains and other areas that need more sepia. This includes the deserts as well. Some of the high points look darker on the reference, so I'm making them darker with the sepia. I'm also extending the darkness a little more towards the Nile, as well as darkening up the eastern part more. By the time I am done layering, I want this area to be really dark. I am heading back to the sandy areas with the sanguine. I'm going to keep layering on the colors working from the reference, but I'm not going for realistic here. I just want a close approximation of what Earth looks like from space. I'm coming in with the black and beginning to really darken up the night side of the globe. I'm not pressing hard, I'm just adding another layer over the areas I want dark. But I will work up several layers to get closer to that darkness. I'm also darkening up the water that is visible between the clouds with more sepia. I need to get everything even darker, so I'm coming in with more black for the water, and then I'm going to come in with the dark indigo to tone down the black I already put down, and to keep the black from becoming too flat in color. I still don't really have the shadow in the right spot down near the Nile, so I am using the cold grey 5 to bring that shadow out a little more to match the rest of the shadows above. I don't need it super dark here, but I do need the shadow a little more to the west, and a little darker. And at this point, I am really just in touching up mode. I use the sanguine to touch up more of the desert, then bring in the blue-greenish to dark up some of the sea and ocean to help blend the darker ocean waters into the lighter green waters. Some more gray 2 and gray 5 to add shadows to some of the clouds. With the cold gray 5, I am working on the clouds on the dark side. They are higher up in the atmosphere and will be lighter, but not as light as the clouds over the ocean. So I want to make them darker. And that covers it for today. Tomorrow I'll be working on the moon and part of the background. I hope you've been following along. Please let me know below. I'd love to know how your Earth turned out. I'm on MeWe and would love to build a coloring community there for everyone to share art, talk art, and discuss supplies. I have my social media links below. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, MeWe, and Patreon. Patreon has a short write-up as well as all the palettes I am using and a list of the timestamps. It's available for everyone. If you have any questions or page requests, please leave them below or reach out to me on social media. I put in a list of chapter breaks in the show notes as well as a list of equipment I'd like to use. If you use any of the affiliate links, it really helps me out without costing you a thing. I want to thank you all so much for coming along and joining in with me on this coloring journey. I appreciate all my subscribers and look forward to more of you joining in and coloring along with me. Please like, share, and subscribe to help that happen. Until next time, happy coloring.